carefree and running, never bothered about what could be coming. Every day we danced and life was smiling. We were young and drunk in love.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, my name is Rachel and I have a motherhood, lifestyle, travel type channel. I have a daughter, Chloe, who is almost going to be 2 years old, and my husband, Ryan, who is just recently getting more comfortable coming into my vlogs. So I hope that if you are new, you'll hit that red subscribe button and that you will follow us along on videos to come. And if you're not new around here, this video might be a little bit different than what you're used to seeing. I usually do a lot of vlogging and mom life type stuff, and this is related to mom life, but it's a little bit different because we're going to be talking about baby products. So if you didn't already get that from the title, today we're going to be talking about some really expensive baby products and whether or not they're worth it, and whether or not maybe there's a backup that you can try that is just as good or maybe even better that is less expensive. And I will give you my vote on which one is better after, you know, we go through both of them in every detail. I am a crazy person, so when my daughter was born, I wanted to make sure that we got the best of everything. So I bought or registered for the most expensive items, thinking that that automatically made them better, which was silly of me, but I fell for a lot of gimmicks, and I want you to learn a lesson that I learned the hard way before you even bother spending it. So if you're shopping for a registry right now and you found my video based on like searching for, is it worth it to buy this product? I'm going to tell you my honest opinion. Now, don't go crazy in the comments if you disagree with me. I completely understand that there are going to be people out there that some of these products worked wonders for and they are going to love them. And that's totally fine. We all have different experiences and every baby is different. I only have one child to compare it to, so we're gonna go off of what I learned with my daughter, but I have lots of nieces and nephews, and some of these thoughts have been also enforced by other people that I know, friends or family with children, who agree with me on some of these as well. So keep that in mind. It's all just coming from my opinion, and let's get started reviewing some of these products. So up first, we are going to talk about baby swings. So there are two major types of baby swings that people are getting lately. You've got your MamaRoo, and then you have something like this Fisher-Price swing. So we actually ended up using both of these, and the MamaRoo was actually my cousin's. She used it for her daughter, and then she let us use it for my daughter, Chloe. And then we used it for a little while, and I noticed that it wasn't really soothing my daughter. So I ended up purchasing through Amazon this Fisher-Price swing, the Snug-a-Puppy, and my daughter was obsessed with it. I think because the action of swinging was a little bit more dramatic, the MamaRoo is a very soft, sort of like lulling movement, and the swing has a much bigger kind of area, I guess, that it swings through, and so it might have more of kind of a motion to them that helps soothe them and calm them down, more similar to the way that you might pick up a baby carrier and swing it back and forth with the baby in it. That's kind of what the motion of the swing could do. It also could face forward to swing, or it could rotate and go side to side. So depending on what kind of motion the baby was looking for, you had more options. The MamaRoo did have different settings that it could have, but it was like up and down and slowly up and down and in a circle, but it was very slow motions. I will say that the MamaRoo took up a lot less space, and so if you are in a confined space, that is a benefit of the MamaRoo. I didn't ever use the features that they have on there, like playing music from my phone or even operating it from my phone. What we ended up doing with it really was it ended up sitting in our bathroom, and when I would take a shower, I would put my daughter in there so that she would have something to keep her distracted so that I could take a shower. But we used the swing in our living room for the majority of the time. And so at a price comparison of the MamaRoo for $250, the Fisher-Price swing was $150, which actually I've seen it as cheap as $80. I would say definitely save yourself over $100, close to $200, and just don't get the MamaRoo, and definitely go for the Fisher Price swing if you are looking to save a little bit of money. If you have an opportunity like I did to borrow someone's even for a short time to test it out with your child, that's ideal, because that way you don't end up forking over the huge amount of money, and you can actually like see if your child likes it before purchasing whichever one they end up liking. Okay, moving on. Our next one is also a MamaRoo product as the expensive item. So the MamaRoo Breeze Plus Pack and Play system versus your typical Graco Pack and Play system. So when it comes to the MamaRoo Breeze, the big thing that they talk about is the one-handed fold and unfold. So I have both types of pack and plays. We got the MamaRoo Breeze from my grandma as our shower present, and then we ended up purchasing a pack and play off of Amazon for like $40 when we were traveling, and we were going to be doing a lot of, like, we flew to my friend's house and then drove to another state for a wedding and then drove back and then flew back home. And because of all that, we didn't want to have to lug around our big gigantic one. And so I actually shipped a $40 Graco Pack and Play off Amazon to my friend's house and left it there. We traveled there a few times, we've used it there, and then eventually we did end up bringing it home with us. So we've used both extensively, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what makes each one better. But honestly, I will say that you do not need to spend upwards of $300 on the MamaRoo Breeze, just because the benefits I don't think are that overwhelming that a $260 difference is like necessary. So the big thing, like I said, you can push and pull the Breeze open and closed with one hand, which is convenient. However, when you're putting the pad in at the bottom, there are 6 Velcro strips that you have to undo and slide through and Velcro underneath. And because of that, it sort of takes away this like quick setup and quick breakdown concept, because the pad doesn't really even stay in super well unless you do Velcro it to the bottom. So you still have to do almost all the exact same steps as you do with the Graco Pack and Play. It's just that that one simple step of one-handed is a little bit easier. With the Graco Pack and Play, you end up loosening up the bottom, and then you push 4 buttons on the side to break the arms down, and then it condenses in, and you wrap the pad around it to close it up. And so that's the only step that's a little bit further, is that you actually have to like push these 4 buttons to close the arms up. So in my opinion, for $260 more, the 4Moms Breeze just wasn't worth it for me. It was a gift and we love it. I do actually love it. It's bigger than the Graco Pack and Play, and it still is a really great pack and play, very sturdy, but I just don't know that I would recommend someone buying it for that much more money. So our next one is baby bottles. And I know like it's not as super expensive as some of these other items I'm talking about, but sometimes a matter of $10 is actually a big deal. So we're gonna talk about 2 very popular baby bottle brands, and that's Tomo and Doc Brown's. So for Doc Brown's bottles, you're gonna get, I think, 4 of them for about $20, whereas with the Tomo bottles, you're gonna get about 2 of them for maybe like $25. And that being said, there are benefits to both. And honestly, this is one where it's going to actually come down to your child and their needs. So my daughter was breastfed, but I also worked weekends. I'm a makeup artist and hairstylist for bridal parties. And so I work a lot of weekends, and when I wasn't home, I obviously couldn't be breastfeeding my daughter. So I pumped and had bottled milk for her, for my husband to give her. And because of that, my daughter preferred the Tomo bottles over any other bottle type that we tried. It just simply reminded her more of the shape of my breast. And so she was able to adjust more easily to using that bottle. I'm not saying all breastfed babies are comfortable using that bottle. I do think when you're breast and bottle feeding, it does take some practice to get your baby used to switching back and forth, and it's not easy. But for us, the Tomo bottles definitely made it worth it, the extra amount of money. But however, I do know that Doc Brown bottles are really good for babies who do have colic, because it has the anti-colic piece in the middle where it keeps the bubbles from coming into the bottle. That can be really helpful if you do have a colicky baby. My daughter wasn't colicky. She actually had a milk protein allergy, which we thought was colic in the beginning, but as soon as I took dairy out of my diet, she stopped all of the fussing and her stomach issues went away, so we didn't need the anti-colic bottle. And I just found that the Doc Brown's bottles were a lot of pieces to clean, and when you're bottle feeding your newborn and they're eating every 2 hours, that actually matters. And whether or not you want to be cleaning a million pieces of bottles actually does make a difference. So the Tomo bottles was, well, 4 if you count the lid, 4 simple pieces to clean: the bottle, the ring around it, the nipple, and the lid. So very easy to clean. So in that case, I would actually spend the little bit more money and get the Tomo. But like I said, it all depends on your baby and their needs. And there are babies out there that are perfectly happy using like an old school, simple, plastic bottle or even a glass bottle. So just do what works best for your kids. And by no means am I saying that you have to spend the extra money to get the Tomo bottles. I'm just saying in our experience, it really did help. Okay, next I'm going to talk about baby monitors. So we actually tried 2 different baby monitors. One of them is actually not in production anymore. It's called the Levana. That's the brand name, and they actually don't make this baby monitor anymore, but other brands make similar baby monitors. It comes with I actually have it right here so I can show you. It comes with a monitor like this where you can view your child on the screen. And so it's on what's called a closed network. And so that means that no one can access it because the only signal being sent is from the camera to the monitor itself. And so you have that ability to watch them, but no one else can access it. They can't hack into it the way that you could with another type of baby monitor. And so this baby monitor retails around $100, or similar ones like it retail around $100. Now there's another baby monitor that we tried called the Nanit. Now that baby monitor is very expensive. It's about $300. It's about $300 retail, and it hooks up to your cell phone through your Wi-Fi network. And so what's great about that one is that it has a beautiful camera. Everything's digital. You can see everything within clear detail, even at night. And it's nice to have it hook up to your cell phone because you can leave. You can go, out, leave your baby with a babysitter, and you can still be checking in on them, which is really wonderful. However, the problem that we had with the Nanit was that we noticed that it was turning itself on when we weren't accessing it, and that scared us. And we don't know if it was glitching or if someone was actually accessing it through our Wi-Fi, but it scared us. And so we decided to discontinue using that particular baby monitor, and that from now on, we are only going to be using closed network baby monitors that come with a separate monitor to watch versus using ones that go through our cell phone. That may be like a little tech scary for us, but we personally did not find that spending the extra money on that one was worth it because it just was too scary for us. I will say that if you are interested in having the better camera, the better quality, the access to it when you're not home, then you are going to want to go with something like that. And the Nanit itself had a lot of wonderful features. In fact, it had a lot better features than a typical baby monitor does with monitoring your kid while they're sleeping and things like that. But, it really just comes down to that's what we're not willing to risk, So it's up to you, obviously, to make that decision for you and your family. And I'm not judging anybody who uses those types because I know a lot of people who rave about them and love them so much. But for us, it just didn't work out. And we would recommend to friends and family and to you guys out here on YouTube to use something on a closed network instead. Okay, guys, and the last one for today's video is going to be about baby sleep. But don't worry, if you are loving these recommendations, there will be a part 2 coming soon. All right, let's talk about baby sleep needs. So there are a lot of different options that people go for when it comes to baby sleep, and most of them are pretty pricey. So the three I'm going to talk about today are all the most popular ones. All of the YouTubers are raving about them. You know, whenever you see a list of like top must-have items 2020, you're gonna see these items on there. And that is the Doc A Tot, the Halo Bassinest, and the Snoo. So the Doc A Tot retails at $175. The Halo Bassinest retails about $280, and the Snoo, ready for a price tag shock, retails at about $1,300. Yeah, that's 1300. Yeah. So the one thing that I want you guys to think about here is I'm talking about necessity for sleep, and that actually comes down to you as a parent. So every single parent is going to be different, and your experience with your newborn and their sleep is going to blow your mind. Let me tell you, you will do anything to get some sleep when you have a newborn. And it's so, so important that you're able to do that. And so I will never judge anyone for their choices on what they do to get their baby to sleep. That being said, there are safe sleep recommendations. Please look into them. Make sure that you talk to your pediatrician or talk to a doctor. Find out about safe sleep, because I don't want anything bad to ever happen to any baby in the world. And so while I'm going to recommend things that I found worked for my family, if you're not comfortable using those items, please do not. Make sure that you talk to a doctor, talk to a nurse, find out the best information you can on safe sleep, and make the choices that are best for you and your family with a well-informed mind. That being said, I'm going to talk about the Halo Bassinet and the Doc A Tot first. These two items, we actually used both of them. We had a Doc A Tot and a bassinet, and we used them in conjunction with one another. So that is not recommended. Let me just put that out there. That is not recommended as safety standards go. A Doc A Tot is meant to be used in your bed with you as a co-sleeper, and a bassinet is meant to be used next to your bed, and they're not meant to put the two of them together. We did. I don't recommend it as far as safety standards go, but I'm just telling you my experience with it. The reason that we ended up doing that was because when we first brought my daughter home, I was terrified of putting her anywhere but right next to me, but I did not want to sleep with her in our bed with us. I was not comfortable with that. And so we used a Doc A Tot in our bed for 1 week. And had her lying between us in the Doc A Tot, where I could open my eyes, look over at her, check on her, and then, go back to sleep without fear of rolling over her or anything like that. Once that week was over, we decided to try moving her into her bassinet. She did not want to sleep in the bassinet because it was a cold, hard, firm surface, and she was used to our body heat. And so we decided to try putting the Doc A Tot in the bassinet, and bingo, it worked. She was comfortable sleeping in there. She slept on her back in her swaddle and couldn't move or roll over. So she was in there sleeping like that. And that was what we were able to use to get her to sleep every single night. And we actually had her sleeping 8 hours at 8 weeks and 12 hours at 12 weeks, which is phenomenal. And a lot of people out there are like flabbergasted. I could do a whole nother video on our sleep method and our sleep training method and what we did and how we were able to do it without cry it out. All sorts of different things that I could talk about in a very separate video, but that is not today's video. Today's video is about products. So I really enjoyed using both the bassinet and the Doc A Tot. I did, however, notice that the bassinest itself was not completely necessary, because when we would travel, we would use the pack and play with the bassinet insert in it and then just use her Doc A Tot, and she would sleep fine in that too. So no matter what surface we put her on, it wasn't the bassinet itself wasn't what was necessary. And at about 4 months, we eventually moved her into her crib, where she still used the Doc A Tot and for a while, and she used it in her crib just fine too. So I will say that spending the $175 on the Doc A Tot was so worth it in my book, but the $280 on the Halo Bassinet might not be worth it, especially if you already have a pack and play that has the insert in it. You could easily get away with using a pack and play next to your bed if you have the space for it. I will say the downside of the Halo Bassinest that was the biggest deal for me was the legs go out very far and they're an easy tripping hazard, and there's 4 of them going out in a T shape. So there's not really a good way to maneuver it to hide the legs. And so they really do take up a lot of space. So that was the big downside for me for that versus just having a pack and play sitting next to your bed or using a different type of bassinet, whatever you're comfortable with. Now let's talk about the Snoo. Before we finish up this video and move on to watching video number 2, I want to talk about the Snoo. I know people who've used it, and actually I know multiple people who've used it, and some claim that it has saved their night's sleep and others claim that it's just not worth it. So I want you to think about this before purchasing something with such a huge price tag and such a huge leap from the next best thing. The Snoo itself, I wouldn't purchase ahead of time unless you realize that your child needs motion in order to stay asleep. So a lot of kids need motion to get to sleep, and there's actually an Instagram account called Taking Care of Babies. I'll put it right here, and she talks about a lot of ways to get your newborn to sleep with rocking and shushing and shaking their booties and giving them a pacifier and all different types of ways that you can try and get them to fall asleep, but then it's staying asleep that's important. Using a sleep prop like the Snoo, or some people use swings to keep them asleep, is only helpful for a short amount of time because eventually they are going to grow out of that and be unable to use that anymore. And then you're just going to have the struggle of figuring out how to keep them asleep later. So feel free to try using something like that if you recognize that the only way to keep your baby asleep, and sleep is important, is to get them in motion. I would recommend something like this Snoo, but there are options for renting, like monthly rental and things like that. I would definitely recommend thinking of going that way versus going with purchasing it for $1,300. So those are my recommendations for part 1 of baby items. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that if you have any questions, you can definitely let me know in the comments below. I will always check my comments. I reply to as many as I possibly can. So please definitely ask me your questions down below about any of these products and more. And if you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit that red subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up if you like this type of video, because I'd love to do more product reviews in the future. And I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.
We were young and we were free and running, never bothered about what could be coming. Every day we danced and life was smiling. We were young and drunk in love.